Hi, today I'm going to talk to you about roots, that's square roots and cube roots, and this goes with lesson 2.2 in your textbook. So, first of all, square roots, that's when you see the little something squared and you'll see this symbol. That's a square root symbol. It's also called a radical sign. And then cube roots is when you have something cubed, and their symbol is going to look like this, same radical sign, but it's going to have a 3 in this spot where this square roots has none. So that's the difference in the look. Square roots are basically trying to find what number times itself 2 times gives you the number under the radical sign. So then for cube roots, obviously, since this is a 2, this is a 3, you're trying to find what number times itself 3 times would give you the number under the radical. So for sake of knowing these from memory, I would get comfortable and know the perfect squares 1 to 20. So like 1 squared equals 1, 2 squared equals 4, 3 squared equals 9, all the way to 20 squared equals 400. And you should find a list that you can study from that. Also, for cube roots, I would do the cubes 1 through 10. 1 cubed equals 1, 2 cubed equals 8, so forth. So we're going to look at some examples, different ways you can see this. First of all, there is no number here, so this is considered a square root. So you're trying to ask yourself what number times itself gives you 64. And obviously that is 8. 8 times 8 equals 64. So the square root of 64 equals 8. Now sometimes different texts or tests or different resources will ask for the positive and the negative. Keep in mind, it's another way to write it, positive or negative 8. Keep in mind that 8 times 8 is a positive 64, but also negative 8 times negative 8 is also a positive 64. So negative times negatives. That's why you can consider both answers. So here we have a negative on the outside. So we just need to remember at the end to put the negative out in front of our answer. So fractions, don't let fractions mess you up or get you panicked. Just separate it into 2 separate questions and leave the fraction bar there. So the square root of 25, what times itself gives you 25? 5. The square root of 36, what times itself gives you 36? 6. And then we have to put our negative back in the front. So the answer to that is negative 5/6. Now when you see a decimal, let's go ahead and put that back into a fraction. It's easier to see that way. So this is 8/10, this is 1/100, so this is 81/100. So I'm going to rewrite it as 81/100 and separate them out into 2 radicals or 2 square roots. The square root of 81 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. The square root of 100 is 10. So the answer would be 9/10 or 0.9. So again, putting it into a fraction with decimals helps. So here we have a cube root. So we're trying to find out what number times itself 3 times will give you 64. That number is 4. Because 4 times 4 is 16, then times another 4 equals 64. So your answer would be 4. Here we have it set up as an equation, and as long as you have this squared, you just do the opposite, take the square root. So that brings you to t equals the square root of 121 is 11. 11 times 11 is 121. Then we have some to do with some shapes. The first one, this is a square. I'm going to go ahead and put marks here to let you know that all 4 of those sides are equal. And I'm going to give you the piece of information that the area of this square is 400. Now I want to know what is the length of each side. And the first thing you're going to think about is divide by 4. Well, if you divide by 4, you get 100, and that doesn't give you area. That's perimeter. So instead, we have to think about if this is an S, this is also an S all the way around. And to find the area, we would take S times S. which is better known now as s squared. So we're going to get out of this length times width business because that's for rectangles. We're going to focus on s squared for squares. So if we know that the s squared, the area, is 400, then to find the length of just the s, just like up here, we're going to take the square root, and that gives me 20. And that makes more sense because 20 times 20 equals 400. So the rule is if you're given the area of a square, you take the square root to get the length of the side. So then over here we have a cube. So special about a cube is all the sides are the same there. So I'm giving you the volume. The volume would be this side times this side times this side. Again, we're going to get out of this length times width times height business since it's a cube. We're going to say side cubed is 125. So if the sides cubed, or side times side times side, equals 125, we're going to solve it by taking the cube root, since this is a cube, and the cube root of 125 is 5, because 5 times 5 times 5 equals 125. So again, if you have a cube, and I give you the volume, then you take the cube root to get your answer for S. Study those square roots and cube roots.